Today, we're going to be talking about the craziness that is the state of the current Pokemon card market. And I want to go over some of the insanity that I'm seeing just across the board with the market. And then also, who is actually buying this stuff right now? Because if I'm being honest, I am personally almost buying nothing right now. It's getting a little too crazy for me. I'm mostly selling things right now unless there is like a crazy hot deal on a collection buy or a lot that's like at a stupidly discounted price. And I usually don't say this, but it's starting to feel like a lot of the speculative plays I'm seeing are borderline manipulation in some cases, which again, I don't use that word lightly. I don't throw around that word too often just because I typically am of the mindset, the market's going to market, and people do make plays on certain cards, and people do buy large quantities of cards from time to time. But when it starts trickling down to every single card that you take a look at in your collection that was $1 yesterday and it's $20 today, it starts to become a little bit tricky to me in terms of like finding what's actually going to make you money, or is it already too late and have you gotten burned? Will you potentially get burned? And it just feels like there's a lot of random cards that are spiking out of nowhere with like no context or backing as to why they're actually spiking. And I don't think it's a matter of them being undervalued at this point. It mostly seems like people are really trying to force their money to be put to work and to make them more money. And people will buy pretty much anything at this point. I mean, Shrouded Fable is being actively purchased on TCG Player. The packs are at an all-time high, except I can still find it in retail stores. So what's that about? But we'll see in the coming months how that actually pans out. I guess my point is, it just feels like everything across the board is being completely juiced up, and I think you want to be careful with how deep down the rabbit hole you go in terms of making these plays. So we're going to review some of these crazy spikes recently and just my opinions on them. One of the cards that I'm going to bring up right now is actually this Greninja Gold Star promo from Celebrations. So if you haven't been paying attention, this card has, for the longest time, a year ago, you could literally buy it for $1 to $2. Definitely closer to $1 a year ago. And then in the last 3 months, it was up to $2, $3. And now it is pretty much an $11 card with tons of confirmed sales over $10. People buying 12 at $9.80. 23 copies, 27 copies. So this card is getting absolutely pumped like no other. But yeah, this card has shot up so much, and I truly believe that everyone thought this card was genuinely like not that great before. Hindsight is 2020. Obviously, it's, has a gold star artwork, it's a promo, whatever. But again, like I was saying, it was $1 for the longest time because there's so many of them out there. There are people with tens to hundreds of this card. Now, I don't personally have any of these Greninjas because, again, I sort of avoided them for the longest time. I was like, they're not valuable. I don't have any connection to them. But I guess where I would transition with that is that I do have a decent amount that I picked up from the show a couple weeks ago of other ETB promos, and even those cards themselves are starting to see pretty crazy moves. So this Lucario V-Star again was $1, $2. Now it's $6 or $7. Do I think that these cards should be $1 or $2 cards? Probably not. But then on the flip side of that, do I think they should be worth more than $10? Also probably not. And especially not with how many of them there are out there. So I would just caution you guys into buying into some of these really juiced up promo plays that are happening where there's just like tons of them out there. People who have hundreds of these are definitely going to be unloading a decent number of them. And who knows, maybe they will be good long-term investments, but I would not be investing in them at their current prices. But yeah, you can look at almost anything in your collection at this point and it's probably gone up in value. And to me, that sort of turns on like a yellowish, reddish flag in my brain that like I probably should be selling some things, because I have been caught with the bag many times, not just in Pokemon, but when you think things are too good to be true and like that things will just keep going up forever and that you have so many of them, you're so happy you have this position. I really advise you, if you're in that spot, especially if you got in super cheap, sell some of it off. You don't have to sell all of it, keep some of it for sure. But like if I had 50, 100 of these promos, I would be selling 50, 75 copies of them, because it just doesn't make sense to be holding them when they've seen such drastic moves. The likelihood that this comes back down to $5 or $6 versus going to 20, I think is just, that's how I would be viewing this. But yeah, I think the Jesse and James cards and some of these Giovanni cards that recently shot up in value were pretty much fuel for a lot of people to start pouring money into singles. Maybe it was already happening before that, but it feels like this is sort of the natural progression in the sense that sealed has already gone up so much, where most sets in Scarlet Violet era are either at or above MSRP. Some are below, but most are at or above. Which again, maybe that's like the natural course of things and they should be close with that price. But I'm just saying, relative to what they were before, 80, 90, $100 boxes, they've really seen drastic price gains. We see people making graded plays at all-time highs right now. PSA is starting to get slightly backlogged, it looks like. And I just think the problem here is that, like, with a lot of these cards, the demand isn't necessarily natural. And when tons of people are starting to make the play, and if you've already noticed the spike, you're probably already too late. And if you buy in to the FOMO, you can quickly be on the other side of that coin, which is like when it's already a race to the bottom. So I take this Giovanni's Exile, for example. Again, it was a $2 card. If it's settling at $12 now, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, if you bought it at $15 to $20, you're technically in the negative right now. And again, maybe it's only a few dollars, but this should be like a lesson learned in the future, just like how this stuff generally works. When a card goes up 563% in the last 30 days, you're gonna see some downward pressure on the price. And to continue that thought, rip and chips are getting more popular than ever. Products getting obliterated at all-time highs, being ripped like no other. It's getting so crazy that some people are starting to get greedy with it, as we've seen with some of the recent rip and chip news. You got more people doing this as their part-time or full-time business than ever before, doing the vending, doing online sales, physical storefronts. It's just nuts to me. And I do think that maybe not a lot, but a decent number of these singles, as we again go down the rabbit hole, that see these 500% price spikes, I do think the raws and some of the PSA 10s will see some big declines in the coming months. So just be careful with what you're buying into. I could be wrong on this stuff, but it's better to err on the side of caution and not get burned, I think, than to like potentially miss out on some of these plays as they come up. There's going to be more plays out there. Don't FOMO. Figure out what your strategy is and stick to it. I would be curious to know what you are buying, if you are buying anything. I know some people are still going back and buying auxiliary Sword and Shield products from Pokemon Center, because that seems to be one of the best places to get products right now, because all these distributors and stores are completely sold out or scalped. But yeah, let me know down below, what are you buying? Are you buying them at market price, or is everything just too crazy for you like it is for me? I'd be curious to know. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you guys in a new one soon. Peace.